one of the greatest of all time. I think he's incredible. I don't think he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. For anybody to call Islam the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Jon Jones, he's the best ever, and he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
Yo, stand up, we gon' make some moves tonight. Yeah, stand up, got something to prove tonight. So stand up, we ain't gonna plan tonight.
Debate over the UFC's top pound-for-pound fighter is heating up. While Jones has an impressive career in multiple weight classes, Makhachev's submission wins are just too impressive. So, is it Jon Jones or the Dagestani warrior that deserves the throne? Let's find out. Who really deserves the throne? With an outstanding record in several weight classes, including a recent victory over Ciryl Gane at UFC 285, Jones feels like he deserves to be at the top. However, the current UFC rankings think otherwise. But, to be fair, Makhachev has delivered crazy performances lately with big wins over elite fighters like Dustin Poirier, Ciryl Oliveira, and Alex Volkanovski. Not only that, but his dominant record in the light class and his busy fighting schedule have helped him hold the top spot in the rankings. Many fans support Makhachev's top ranking due to all his recent wins and how active he is as a fighter when compared to Jones. This has sparked a debate about whether recent performance and activity should weigh more in pound-for-pound considerations compared to a fighter's overall career achievements. Both UFC President Dana White and Jon Jones are adamant that Jones is the best fighter in the pound-for-pound division.
Jon Jones, he's the best ever, and he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. And he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
They argue that Jones' long career, which includes multiple championships in both the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions, has earned him the top spot. So much so that Jones has expressed his frustration on Twitter, talking about how his achievements are being overshadowed by Makhachev's ranking. He believes his recent performances, including the win over Gane, should confirm his position as the top pound-for-pound fighter. And Dana White agrees based on the impact he's had on the sport in all these years. Who's right here? The debate over who deserves the top spot in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings often comes down to fight records, especially when comparing Jon Jones and Islam Makhachev. Jon Jones has openly questioned Makhachev's claim to the #1 position. He argues that Makhachev's victories don't show the same level of dominance Jones himself has demonstrated because they're usually won in close or last-minute situations. But let's not forget, Jones' recent fights have been tight too. Remember his fight with Dominic Reyes? Many fans felt Reyes might have won. And his fight against Thiago Santos? That was closely contested, especially after Santos suffered early injuries.
So people do it. Right. They have done it. Rico Rodriguez fought for years with a torn ACL. And there you see that inside leg kick.
Yeah, I mean, Santos was trading some leg kicks, but just when he would get a good kick going, boom, his leg would completely buckle out from underneath of him. Jones with all the pressure.
Never stopped his attack.
No, not at all. I mean, still smiling. Torn ACL, potentially.
Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev is coming off a big win over Poirier at UFC 302 via 5th-round submission, adding to a resume that is quickly becoming one of the best in lightweight history.
See this, look at this. He swings the leg back towards him. Guys, Islam was struck. You can see him setting up this nowhere for Dustin to go. He's got a tap.
And was that Usman Nurmagomedov who rushed
that was...
Still goes through. Retain your home yard and car available.
Declaring the winner by submission, still Islam Makhachev.
Makhachev has the UFC's longest win streak in the 155-pound division, as well as the 3rd longest overall. He's also tied with legends BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar, Benson Henderson, and Khabib Nurmagomedov for the most consecutive UFC lightweight title defenses. What else can you expect from a fighter who's training under Khabib's wing? His fighting style is also vastly different from Jones, which some see as a far superior approach rather than being outright dominant. Makhachev also managed to beat King Green via TKO like it was nothing, and he's arguably one of the highest IQ fighters in the lightweight division. On the other hand, Jones has faced off against opponents like Reyes and Ciryl Gane, which weren't too impressive, let's be real. Francis Ngannou would have been a far better match for a man of Jones' caliber. The matchup with Miocic is no doubt impressive, but we'll see how close that fight turns out to be when it comes to. But this raises the question, do Jones's recent opponents match the level of Makhachev's? These differences in recent performances and the caliber of competition highlight the ongoing debate over who truly deserves the top pound-for-pound ranking. But who's more active? When deciding who deserves the top spot, two main factors come into play: activity level and the quality of opponents. Islam Makhachev has been very active recently, fighting in 4 major bouts over the past year and a half. His frequent appearances in the octagon have allowed him to build momentum and demonstrate his skills against some of the best fighters. This level of activity is a key factor in the pound-for-pound rankings because it shows a fighter's current form and competitiveness. In comparison, Jon Jones has been far less active. Over the last 5 years, he has only fought 4 times. This long break has led to questions about whether he's still at the top of his game. Even though his last fight earned him the heavyweight title, his infrequent appearances can be seen as a disadvantage when considering pound-for-pound rankings. Being active is important because it shows how ready and effective a fighter is at any given moment. The quality of opponents also plays a big role in the debate. Makhachev has defeated several top fighters, which strengthens his claim to the top spot. These victories highlight his ability to compete against elite fighters and the strength of his recent competition. However, even though Jones's recent opponents have been pretty good, many consider them to be less impressive than Makhachev's last 2 opponents. And the level of competition is very important for pound-for-pound rankings because it measures how well a fighter performs against the best. Overall, Makhachev's higher activity level and recent successes against top-ranked fighters give him an edge in the current pound-for-pound debate. Of course, that still doesn't offer a resolution to the debate. So, let's compare their fights. Islam Makhachev has been going ham while training with Khabib, and it really shows. All the skills he's learned from the former Dagestani champ have really shown through in his recent bouts with highly skilled fighters like Dustin Poirier. But not all he does comes from Khabib, because unlike his coach, Makhachev can kick hard. The sheer power behind his kicks can be seen in his performances against Ciryl Oliveira and Alex Volkanovski, the former pound-for-pound king. Makhachev has now taken Volka's spot because he's also master at wrestling and grappling. I mean, the way he blends all his skills to control and dominate his opponents effortlessly is crazy. His clinch game is out of this world, which allows him to set the pace and set up takedowns with precision. How else do you think he was able to bring down Volka? All this explains why he's currently ranked at the top. But why doesn't Dana give the man any credit? Let's talk about Jon Jones before we get to the bottom of that. Jones is known for his technical skills and dominance, especially in his prime. Jones has really impressed his fans with his versatility in striking, wrestling, and clinching, a lot like Makhachev. But recent fights have shown some cracks in his armor. His boxing, for instance, has shown some weaknesses with opponents like Alexander Gustafsson and Dominic Reyes, exposing flaws in his defense and technique. Even though Jones is still a very skilled fighter, his recent fight suggests he may not be as untouchable as Dana thinks. So, what does this mean? Simple. Makhachev's current skill set and dominance earn him the right to be the top dog right now. But then again, Jones's career achievements are seriously impressive, like his long reign as light heavyweight champion and his recent reign as heavyweight champ. However, one can argue that all of his recent performances suggest his career is on the decline, so much so that he might even consider retiring after his bout with Makhachev. But that's a story for another video. Make sure to check out our channel to find out why Jones versus Aspinall may never happen. For now, let's talk about Dana's opinion. Dana White has always been Jon Jones' biggest fan, saying he's the best fighter in MMA history. And it's not hard to see why. Jones has had an amazing career, he was the light heavyweight champion for so long, and has recently done really well in the heavyweight division. Whatever the recent debates and rankings may say, in White's opinion, Jones is the best fighter in the weight class because of these accomplishments. But how should we decide who the top pound-for-pound fighter is? Some people think that recent fights should count the most. They say that how a fighter is doing right now is super important. The idea supports Islam Makhachev being number 1 because he's been winning a lot and fighting more often than Jones. Even GSP thinks Makhachev is the best pound-for-pound right now. Meanwhile, others such as White believe that a fighter's major victory should hold more weight. They believe Jones' long-term success and major accomplishments are more important than his recent fights. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think should matter most in deciding the top pound-for-pound fighter? Should it be about how they've been doing lately or their whole career? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more videos just like this.